Thank you, Mark. Hi, everyone. So grateful to be here. Such a blessing to practice with you all today, and just overflowing with joy also to be here as an IJS faculty member, which is not, the overflowing with joy is not the theme of this time that we're in, these 9 days of Av. And I want to speak a little bit about that. I really love starting any sit really when I'm thinking about the kavanah, the intention or the practice inspiration, by just sharing that my favorite part of Jewish spirituality and one of its most beautiful contributions, I think, is how deeply grounded it is in space and time, and how tuning into where we are in this moment in the calendar always provides extraordinary guidance and inspiration for our practice that can help us to connect to this greater whole that we're a part of, to these cycles that we share with the collective, whether that's other Jews or all of humanity or the planet, the natural world. And so, as Mark mentioned, we are here in the month of Av. It was recently the new moon, Rosh Chodesh. And, it's kind of beautiful, I think, actually, that in this time where actually on a planetary level, this is, or at least where I am in North America, this is the hottest, brightest month of the year, or it's one of them. We're in the middle of summer here. And so in this time of actually quite a lot of heat and light, we are making space to actually lean into the darkness that is part of our human experience. And you can also see on the flip side, actually, on our calendar during Kislev in the winter, during the darkest time of the year, how beautiful that on Hanukkah, we make space to kindle light. So it's like our tradition is always supporting us in remembering that our experience is actually always so interwoven and helping to bring balance to these themes. And, this time in these 9 days or the 3 weeks also that lead up to Tisha B'Av is a time of leaning into sadness, of leaning into grief, of making space for mourning. On Tisha B'Av, this Saturday, we're going to commemorate the destruction of the temple and many other events throughout our history that were destructive. And I'm so grateful that this tradition encourages us to make space to feel our feelings, right? I think many of us were at one point conditioned to see that some emotions are good and some emotions are bad. Maybe you had that experience as a child, like happiness, good, sadness, anger, bad, right? But actually, the encouragement here is to see that all of these feelings and experiences are human. All of them are sacred on some level. All of them are murmurings of our soul that are giving us important information. And they can all be included within awareness. They can all be experienced in a mindful way and expressed in a healthy way. And of course, part of what's so beautiful about this month of Av is that just a week after Tisha B'Av, we have Tu B'Av, which is our Jewish Valentine's Day, our holiday of love. So there's something about really opening the heart to allow these feelings to move through that also creates space for more love. And I really do see this month of Av, as like the month of the heart, and a month to really hold and care for the tenderness of the heart and whatever is here. And so I want to share with you a beautiful poem as we to lead us into our practice today by Charlene Lowe. It's called How to Open Your Heart. So feel free to you can sit back and just take these words in, allow them to wash over you. How to open your heart. Do not try to open your heart now. That would be a subtle movement of aggression towards your immediate embodied experience. Never tell a closed heart it must be more open. it will shut more tightly to protect itself, feeling your resistance. A heart unfurls only when conditions are right. Your demand for openness invites closure. This is the supreme intelligence of the heart. Instead, bow to the heart in its current state. If it's closed, let it be closed. Sanctify the closure. Make it safe, safe even to feel unsafe. Trust that when the heart is ready, and not a moment before, it will open, like a flower in the warmth of the sun. There is no rush for the heart. Trust the opening and the closing too, the expansion and the contraction. This is the heart's way of breathing, safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe. The beautiful fragility of being human, and all held in the most perfect love. So as we enter into our practice together, really inviting our hearts forward, whatever feelings we might be feeling, whatever emotions are present in this moment, that they are welcome. They're not good or bad, right or wrong. We don't need to control or push them away or force anything at all. But just to create space here for whatever wants to be felt in that most perfect love, which is our essential awareness. And so just settling into our body, feeling the seat, the feet on the ground, the way that gravity effortlessly hugs us to the earth. Noticing the breath in the body. Gentle inhale and exhale. Perhaps noticing any tension or constriction that's present in the body, and just a gentle relaxation, a gentle softening. Softening into this moment, just as it is, again and again. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just relaxing into the body. And allowing whatever is here to be here, just as it is. Thoughts, emotions, sensations. Paying attention to whatever is here with a gentle, kind interest. Allowing this moment to be just exactly what it is. Perhaps choosing a place in the body to anchor the attention, the breath, or even the heart. Perhaps you can feel your heart beating. Resting the attention in the body. Relaxing again and again into the present moment, just as it is. And allowing whatever is here to be here. In a tender space of awareness. And as the attention drifts away into thought, just returning with care, with kindness again and again. This breath, this body, this moment, just as it is. For the last 5 minutes, I want to invite us to become aware of perhaps what is our greatest resource in navigating more challenging emotions or realities, which is our connection with one another, our interconnection with other human beings, other beings, and that we are here in community. That so much of our growth and healing and awakening must happen in connection, in relationship. I want to share a beautiful quote from Eddie Hillesum, who was a young mystic and writer who compiled beautiful diaries during World War II. She writes, "Truly, my life is one long hearkening unto myself and unto others, unto God. And if I say that I hearken, it is really God who hearkens inside me, the most essential and the deepest in me, hearkening unto the most essential and deepest in the other, God to God." And so perhaps just listening in for that place of extraordinary wholeness that exists, perhaps deep within us, or infinitely around us. Just basking in the awareness of that most essential, deepest part of us that holds it all. And then considering someone in your life, or perhaps just the other people in this Zoom meditation, and considering that deepest, most essential wholeness within them. And what it would mean, what it would mean to relate to one another from that place, that deepest, most essential place in us, hearkening unto that deepest, most essential place in another. God to God. Gently opening your eyes, perhaps taking a moment just to notice where you are, what is here. Thank you so much for your practice and your presence today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Friends, we seal the practice as we do each time by offering an opportunity for those who are observing yard sites, or if you're in mourning, or if it's your custom to participate in Kaddish, to do so, to seal the practice with Kaddish, and for those who are not reciting Kaddish, to stay present and offer your compassionate support in the beautiful way that Rebecca just described. And if you'd like to put the name or names of those you're remembering or honoring today in the chat box now, you're welcome to do so, or after we recite Kaddish. And thanks to Kat Esposito, who is holding our text space, for putting up the words of the Kaddish. And those who are reciting are invited to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite it together. Git Gadal, Rash Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thank you so much for Oops. We missed all that. Thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks to Rebecca for stepping in and leading us so beautifully today. Filling in for Rabbi Shefa Gold, who we wish Refuah Shlema, complete healing. We are so blessed, Rebecca, to have you as an organization and our whole community of practice, including the people here and all those who will be joining this community of practice over time. Also blessed to have you as a teacher and leader. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and spirit with us today. And also want to welcome, we are similarly blessed to have Kat Esposito, who is now holding our text as and beyond as manager of our program operations. And so blessed to have you, Kat, doing so. Thanks for holding our space today securely so we can engage in practice. And for those of you who are leaving us now, we invite you to join us tomorrow. We'll be led by Cantor Heather Batchelor, be joining us from Montreal. And on Friday, Cantor Louise Treitman will be leading us to sit in Shabbat together. And we hope to see you then, if not, sometime soon. Those who we want to thank, of course, Joanne Fink, who sponsored our practice today in loving memory of her husband, Andy Tratner, on the occasion of his 11th yard site. Yehi Zichro Baruch, may his memory be blessed. May his memory be a blessing for you, Joanne, as I said, for your family, for all those who knew him, and through us, the merit of today's practice, may we lift up his neshama and continue to let it shine in this world. So for those who are staying on, if you would like to share reflections on your experience in the chat box, you're welcome to do so. If you have questions for Rebecca, I'm going to invite Rebecca to come on in. And we keep an eye on the chat box. We will keep an eye on the chat box for questions. If you have questions, well, there's one right away, Rebecca, about what is the heart this is a great question. And by the way, just to stay tuned, first of all, people I know people definitely are going to want that poem that you read. So if you happen to have it handy and can plug it into the chat, that'd be great. Here we go. And we'll end with that to mind before we close. Maybe just sit for another minute as you read it again to us. So if you'd be willing to, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But the question, Mark's question, is a good one, because we use the word heart, refer to the heart frequently. So the question is, what are you talking about when you use that term?
Hmm. So, such a good question. I love these questions that are so essential. What is the heart? What is spirituality? What is God? What is mindfulness? All these words that we use a lot. And then actually it's so rich to really get into what that actually is. And I think there are a lot of different answers. So I'll just share like kind of what's coming up right now.
Mhm.
One is just that according to the Jewish tradition, our heart is actually heart and mind actually go together. And that's actually also true in a lot of other different spiritual traditions, that the heart and the mind, in some even it's just one word, heart mind. And so I think that's one beautiful way to think of the heart, really, as being a source of intelligence, actually, that works best or the whole system works best when the mind and the heart are integrated. And I think when we're only drawing information and intelligence from the intellect and the heart isn't included in that, the intellect is brilliant, but it doesn't really have the ability to guide and direct us without the heart, without that
Mhm.
morality and love, really. Whereas the heart can guide us. The heart has so much direction. The heart knows what it's wanting to run towards. It knows what really feels loving. And so the heart and the intellect together, I think, is really where a deeper source of intelligence can be accessed. And, even in Hebrew, when we talk about paying attention or mindfulness, the word is sim
Mhm.
lev, to
Mhm.
place your heart on that object. So I think, the heart, and they say also, it's like wisdom and compassion are two wings of the bird of awakening. Also in our tradition, knowledge and love always go together. And so we have to include the heart in our practice. It's not separate from the mind, from paying attention.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty great answer. That's a
So
pretty great answer. Um, so there's also a question from Ricky Lippitz about the quote that you closed with when we were coming in for a landing, Eddie Hillesum. Um, do you know much about Eddie Hillesum, or maybe you want to say a little bit about
yeah.
where you were going there?
Yeah, so I actually received recently a gift of a deck of cards of Eddie Hillesum quotes. So you can see that's her. And Eddie Hillesum was she was in her 20s. She was like a young mystic, spiritual explorer who was alive in Eastern Europe, I think in Poland. I could be mistaken, during the Holocaust. And she perished in the Holocaust, I think in Auschwitz. Oh, from Holland. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, so she wrote diaries throughout World War II. And although she perished in the Holocaust, her diaries live on. And her writings were extraordinarily wise and insightful on all matters of spirituality. They're really seen, I think, as a testament to hope and faith in humanity and just love and compassion, even in the most dire circumstances. So you can find her diaries, and this is actually a card deck of like quotes from her that are in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. And this deck was compiled by Israeli and Palestinian peace activists together. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Eddie Hillesum's writings. I'm just finding my way in. I'm not so familiar myself, but I'm really appreciating her words as I do explore more. So
I wanted to ask you, Rebecca, I really appreciated, that you started off by emphasizing how we have a tradition that encourages us to welcome
Mhm.
all the full range of human emotions. And I can't remember the exact phrase used, but it was really lovely. Um, I think murmurs were in there that they're basically revelatory, right? That they're trying to express something that needs to be expressed. That if we don't pay it, if we quash it or push it down or repress it or avoid it, we're going to miss something
Mhm.
that needs expression. Um, and that Judaism allows for that. At the same time, then we have that, like you noted also, like we're in this season that says, all right, this is sadness season, right? Um, and our where we are emotionally may or may not individually may or may not align with that.
Mhm.
So I don't know, do you have any thoughts about the question about what happens when our the arc of our own personal emotional life isn't aligning, with like the narrative that seems to tell the story? Or how do we work with, noticing? Another way of putting it, I guess, is in general is um, how do we work with emotions which may seem particularly unwelcome or let's say inappropriate, or we think of them as inappropriate for the time, like that's not the holiday spirit, you know. Uh, so
Yeah.
I think actually, I mean, that the poem says a lot about that, but maybe you have something to add.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think the invitation here is to like that here are the themes of this holiday or this moment on the calendar, and so you must totally be inside that theme all the time and feel that. I think it's more of an invitation to, in general in our lives, make space for the full spectrum of our human experience and to understand
Mhm,
that. I think also there's just so much intelligence in the Hebrew calendar as far as the way that our human experiences and emotional lives and spiritual lives have a rhythm, right? That it's not random. When we
mhm,
feel certain feelings, it's generally connected to things that are going on in our lives, things that are going on in the collective, maybe stages of life where we're at or big life experiences we're going through. And there's an intelligence, like there's a rhythm, there's even a beauty to the
mhm,
arc of that. And we can learn like what that rhythm or that arc might look like through studying the
mhm,
calendar, which is also very earth-based. It's seasonal.
mhm,
And so, I think it's really just an invitation to contemplate these different themes on a yearly basis that might help create space for those emotions to come through if perhaps they're lying dormant in us or we haven't had space to feel them. But I
mhm,
don't think we're meant to kind of force ourselves or contrive any experience. I will say, for myself, I'm kind of constantly surprised though that when I am going through some kind of big emotional theme, then to see that, oh my God, this is actually
I'm
often
right there.
very much in
Right.
alignment with the Hebrew calendar. And
Right.
I especially felt that when I was living in Jerusalem. And I think part of that is connected to the way that, first of all, the way that the Hebrew calendar is so rooted in seasonal themes. And so much of our traditions grew out of our relationship to that land in particular and what was happening just in the natural world. And also, I think there's power in being in community where thousands of people are talking about this or praying in these ways or observing these themes and acknowledging them. And there's an energetic power there, I think, that we feel that we're impacted by. So I very much felt it in Jerusalem. I still feel it all the
Mhm.
time. And it's just something kind of mysterious, just to get curious about. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's, I think many people are not always aware of the full range because, where certain holidays stick out or people think of them as like, oh, those are the real Jewish holidays, the big holidays, right? And they may be associated with particular themes of, sadness, or people think about whatever, like people think of it as Jewish emotions, right? And they miss joy, gratitude, other, holidays, Tu B'Shvat, uh, regeneration, and lots of themes. So one of the great things about, like, really one of the great blessings, I think, for us to having this daily sit is that we're really living through the whole calendar. We're we're noting where we are day by day, not just on the holidays themselves, but where we are in the period, in the interim period between the holidays, and how one flows into the next and leads to the next and ties the whole theme of the year together. To go back to what you said about how the heart can hold, holds everything really. It's multivalent, has so many capacities, so many compartments, represents so much of who we are holistically. So why don't we end, if you don't mind? If you don't mind, I want to invite people to just extend. Maybe you have a kind of Havdalah here to move, to transition back into wherever people are going with the rest of their day. Such a beautiful reading. Inviting people to, if you want to bring your awareness inside or close your eyes and just once again let these words wash over you as Rebecca shares them.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, from Charlene Lowe, and as Mark said, just let these words wash over you. How to open your heart. Do not try to open your heart now. That would be a subtle movement of aggression towards your immediate embodied experience. Never tell a closed heart it must be more open. It will shut more tightly to protect itself, feeling your resistance. A heart unfurls only when conditions are right. Your demand for openness invites closure. This is the supreme intelligence of the heart. Instead, bow to the heart in its current state. If it's closed, let it be closed. Sanctify the closure. Make it safe, safe even to feel unsafe. Trust that when the heart is ready and not a moment before, it will open like a flower in the warmth of the sun. There is no rush for the heart. Trust the opening and the closing too, the expansion and the contraction. This is the heart's way of breathing. Safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe. The beautiful fragility of being human, and all held in the most perfect love.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Again, thanks to you, and thanks to Kat for holding our space, and thanks so much to Joanne for sponsoring our practice today. And friends, hope to see you tomorrow for practice with Ken or Heather Bachelor. Be safe and be well. Many blessings to everyone.